Hello everyone, it's Mr. Salimata over here, and in today's lesson we'll be looking at factorizing quadratic expressions into double brackets of the form x squared plus bx plus c with a leading coefficient of 1. And by the end of this lesson, every student should be able to factorize quadratic expression into double brackets of this form with a leading coefficient of 1. Yeah? Okay, so now let's start this lesson by expanding our expression over here. Now, I'm sure many of you are asking yourself, say, why is Mr. Salimata starting this lesson with expanding rather than him just going straight to factorizing? Yeah? Okay, stay with me in this lesson and then we can see the reason why Mr. Salimata is starting this lesson with expanding. Yes? Okay, so let's go into expanding this this expression over here. Yeah? So we have double brackets over here. So what we have to do is we have to what? We have to distribute our terms, yes, our terms over here, to distribute them to what? To all the terms in our second bracket. Yes, what I mean by that is we have to multiply each term in our first bracket here to all the terms in our second bracket, right? And we do that by multiplying, yes, x by x. That gives us what? X squared, yes, and x, yes, x by positive 3. That gives me what? Positive 3x, right? Okay, so I'm done with my first term. Now, I have to deal with what? My second term over here, right? Okay, positive 2 by x gives me positive what? Positive 2x. Positive 2 multiplied by positive 3 gives me positive 6, okay? Okay, so now if we look at these terms over here, these are like terms, right? They both contain what? Variables, right? X as a variable, right? So what can we do? We can simplify them, just add them together. And what do we get? We get 5x, yes? So I'll write my 5x over here. I'll bring down my constant, my 6 over there, and bring down my what? My x squared over there. So there we go right here. We have expanded our expression over there, right? Okay, now let's take a look at something here. This 5x over here, well, let me just focus on the coefficient over here, this 5, yes? How did this 5 come about? Yes, if we look at our initial expression over there, it came about by what? By adding 2 plus 3, and we got what? We got our 5, right? And then if we look at our constant here, 6, it came about by multiplying those same two numbers that we added, yes? 2 multiplied by 3, we got what? We got a 6, yes? Okay, so let's put that in mind, yeah? Let's put that in mind, okay? Now, let's try to focus on this expression over here, yeah? This expression right here, yes? So, this is the standard form of a quadratic expression, yeah? And if we had now to talk about our expanded expression over here, yes? If we talk about our expanded expression over here, in relation to the form, or rather the standard form of a quadratic expression over here, we can easily see that our 5x here, yes, is our bx, right? That's our bx over there. And our constant 6 here is our what? Is our c, right? And our x squared is the same as x squared, right? So this expression over here is what? Is a standard form, right, of a quadratic expression, right? Now we know that. Now remember, don't forget that our b, we found it by what? By adding 2 plus 3, right? Which gave us 5, right? Our 5x over there. And our c, we got it multiplying 2 by 3, which gave us 6, which is our constant over there, right? Okay. That's good. So let's now shift it to another part. Yes, let's shift it a little bit to another part. Yes. Okay. So now, what if we want to find, or rather write this expression into double brackets? How do we do that? How do we go about it? We want to write this expression over here that we expanded into double brackets. How do we do that? Okay, now that's what we call factorizing, yeah? That's now what we call factorizing. So let's get our expanded expression over there and write it into double brackets, or rather, let's factorize it, okay? So our expression was what? X squared plus 5x plus 6. Yes? Okay. Now remember, this is our C, this is our bx, right? And if you remember, we found our bx by what? By adding two numbers, and then those same two numbers that we added, after multiplying them, we found our what? Our C, right? So now, we have to apply that to what? To factorizing this quadratic expression over here, right? So now, you see the reason why Mr. Salimata started this lesson by what? By expanding. So how are we going to now factorize this expression? Remember, we are looking for what? For two numbers that when we multiply them, they give us what? Positive 6. And when we add those same two numbers, they should give us what? Positive 5 over there, right? Okay, and in simple terms, we're talking about what? Factors of 6, right? So let me drop down my 6 over here. Factors of 6, we're talking about 1 by 6 and 2 by 3, right? Okay, so my x squared has a leading coefficient of what? Of 1, and it is in the what? In the standard form of a quadratic expression. So I know that it will be a set of what? Of brackets, right? With my x over there, my signs over here, both of them are positive, so definitely I'll put them in there as well, because I know they are both in both brackets. It will be what? It will be positive, right? Okay, so now that we have these pairs over here, yeah, these sets over here, the factors of 6, we know that if you multiply 1 by 6, it gives you 6. If you multiply 2 by 3, it gives you positive 6. So we are set with both pairs, but we need to find one pair that when you add, it gives us what? Positive 5 over there, which is our B, right? Okay, so if we add 1 plus 6, that gives us 7. If we add 2 plus 5, that gives us what? 5, right? So which pair do we have to get here? We have to get this one, because it satisfies the equation, or it satisfies our expression over here, right? Because 2 multiplied by 3 gives us 6. 2 plus 3 gives us what? Gives us 5. So there we go, we have found it. So all we have to do is what? We just have to input them in our brackets over here, and that is 2, positive 2, I'll just put my 2 over there. That's positive 3, I'll put my positive 3 over there. And there we go. We have factorized our expression over there, right? We have factorized our expression over there. But have you guys also noticed something that I've just noticed? If we look at our factorized expression over here, yes, you find that this is the same what? Initial expression that we expanded over here, right? And this is what the expanded expression that we found. So then, what's the conclusion? Yeah. So we can say that, yes, to conclude that, we can say that, yes, factorizing is the opposite of what? Of expanding, right? Factorizing is the opposite of expanding, right? So here we go. You see that this expression over here, right? When you, yes, factorize, right? That's factorize, right? And our factorized expression over here, if we expand it, we get that. So what do we have there? Expand, right? So we know that factorizing is the opposite of what? Of expanding, yes? All right, so there we go. Now that we have finally learned how to factorize, yes? How to factorize quadratic expressions into double brackets, or rather, now that we have an idea, let's go on by looking at a few examples so we can familiarize ourselves on how to factorize quadratic expressions into double brackets of this form with a leading coefficient of 1. Yeah. Okay, so now we have our what? Our few questions over here that we have to factorize them into double brackets. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with our first expression over there. Yes. Remember, all these questions over here are going to be what? To be a set of brackets. Yes, they'll be factorized into what? Into a set of brackets. Why so? It's because they are in the what? In the form of what? Of a quadratic expression over here with what? With a leading coefficient of what? Of 1. So all our questions over here will be what? Will be factorized into what? Into double brackets. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with our first expression over there. Yes. So we already know it's going to be what? Double brackets. Yes. So we write our double brackets over there. Yeah. And we know we have what? X squared over there, which has a leading coefficient of what? Of 1. So I do know that in both of my brackets, there'll be what? In each bracket will contain what? Will have X. Yes. Okay. So let me write my X in there, X in there, right? Positive, positive. Okay. So that means in both of my brackets, I'll have what? Positive sign, right? Okay. So remember, what did we say in our previous question? We said that we have to find what? We have to find two numbers that when we multiply them, we get positive what? 21. And when we add the same two numbers, we get positive 10. And so we're simply talking about what? Factors of what? Of 21, right? Okay, so I'll write my 21 over here. And we're talking about what? 1 by 21, yes? And 3 by 7, right? So these are the factors of 21. And if we multiply 1 by 21, we get 21. 3 by 7, we get 21 as well. But remember, those same two numbers, when added, they should give us what? Positive 10, okay? So we have to choose one pair over here, right? Whether it's our first pair over here or our second pair over here, right? Well, we can easily tell that 1 plus 21 is not going to give us 10, right? So definitely it's going to be 3 plus 7. That's going to give us what? Positive 10 over there. So this right here is the pair that we are going to use. And all we have to do is just insert 3 in our first bracket over there and 7 in our second bracket over there, right? So there we go, right? So we have factorized our what? Our quadratic expression into double brackets. Now, you can also check, yes, you can also check whether your factorized answer is what? Is correct. Yes, you can check that. Because by expanding it actually, but after you expand it, you have to go back to your what? To your initial quadratic expression over there. Yes, so in this lesson, I will expand, or rather I will check with you guys, yes, with our first expression over here to see if this factorized answer of ours is correct, or if it's going to give us this expression over here after expanding it. And then when we go down over here, I'll leave it to you guys to check by expanding all the solutions that we'll find and see if you get to our initial expressions over there. Yes, so there we go. All we have to do is we have to expand this. And I've already I started this lesson by expanding, so we do know how to expand. Or rather, if you're still struggling, you can just go back and watch how we expanded our first expression. Yes, so all we have to do is we have to what? To multiply x by x. Yes, it gives me x squared, right? And x over here by positive 7 gives me positive 7x. X over here by 3 by x gives me what? Positive 3x. And 3 multiplied by positive 7 over there gives me what? Positive 21. We have our two like terms over here. Yes, if we add them, those give me positive 10 plus 21 over there, a positive there, and I bring down my what? My x squared over there. So there you go. As you can see, our factorized expression over there is okay, right? Okay, so now let's move on to factorizing our second expression over here. Yes, So we do know that this is also going to be a what? A double bracket, yes? Okay, so there we go. We open our brackets, yes? And what do we have here? We have my x squared with a leading coefficient of what? Of 1. So I'll put my x over there and my x over there. My signs here are the same, positive. So positive and positive, yes? And what's our next step? We have to find what? Two numbers. When we multiply those two numbers, they give us positive 18. And when we add those same two numbers, give us what? Positive 11. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the factors of what? Of 18, yes? So 18 over there. What are the factors of 18? Yes, 1 by 18, yes? 2, 9, 3, and 6. Okay, so we do know that if we multiply these pairs over here, yes, this pair, that pair, and this, and the third pair over here, they'll definitely give us positive 18. But then which pair, if we add them, they'll give us positive 11. The first pair over here, I don't think so. This one will give us 19, yes? Our second pair over here, check, that gives us what? Positive 11. Our third pair over here gives us what? Gives us 9. So which pair are we going to go for? We're going for this pair right there. And all we have to do is what? Is to insert them in our brackets over there, and our 2 right there, and our 9 over there. And remember, you can check if your factorized expression is what? Is correct by what? By expanding, and then you will get back to the initial quadratic expression over here. So I'll leave the expanding part, yeah, to you guys, so you can check by yourselves, and then you can just write a comment and see if at all every single answer that we're going to find was factorized in the right way. Yes? Okay, so let's deal with our third expression over here. So with our third expression over here, I would love you guys to pause the video and try to solve it by yourselves and see if at all you can, or rather if you arrive at the same answer that both of us will arrive as we solve together. Okay? Yeah, so please pause the video and then try it on your own. Okay? So yes, so we do know that this is a what? This is definitely also going to be a double bracket. Yes? This will be a double bracket as well. I have my x squared over there with a leading coefficient of 1. So I'll just put, sorry, I'm going to take that 2 out over there. Sorry for that. Okay, so now if we look at this question over here, it's different from the ones that we've done previously, right? This one has positive and negative over there. So I'm not going to jump quickly in putting any signs over there because I don't know what signs will be here, right? So my next step would be what? Finding the two numbers. When I multiply them, I get what? Negative 8. And when I add those same two numbers, I get positive 2, right? So we're talking about factors of 8. And what are the factors of 8? 1 by 8, 2 by 4. Yes? These are the factors of 8, right? But look at this. 1 multiplied by 8 is positive 8. 2 multiplied by 4, that's positive 8 as well, but we're looking for negative 8. So we can just simply add negatives over there. And if you multiply them, they'll give you negative what? Negative 8, right? Now, we have to now find among these two pairs, which one gives us what? Positive 2, right? Our first pair here definitely doesn't give us positive 2. This one gives us positive 7, right? Our second pair over here gives us what? Positive 2. So there we go. We have found our what? Our solution. So in my first bracket will be x minus 2. In my second bracket will be what? Positive what? Positive 4. So there we go. We have factorized our third expression over there. And you can also check by what? By expanding your what? The answer that you found over here. And it will give you back, or rather you will get back to the initial quadratic expression over here. Yes? Okay, so now let's look at our last expression. Yes? You can also pause the video and solve this expression over here into double brackets. Yeah, you can factorize it into double brackets. Check your understanding. Yeah, and later you can check with me and see if you find the same solution as mine. Yeah, okay, so definitely we do know it's a double bracket. Yes, because x squared over there, leading coefficient of 1, and our expression over here is written is in the form of what? Of a quadratic expression over there. Yes, standard form of a quadratic expression. So definitely write my x over there. These signs over here, yes, I'm not going to jump quickly in writing them. Yes, so I'll just go straight into finding the two numbers that when I multiply them, they give me -10, and when I add those same two numbers, give me what? -3. Yes, so we're talking about factors of 10. Yeah, so we have 1 by 10 and we have 2 by 5. These are the only factors of 10. Yes, but we're looking for what? -10, right? Okay, so I want you guys to look at this carefully. Let's add a negative here. Yes, if you multiply -1 and 10, you get what? You get -10. That's okay. If you multiply -2 and 5, you get -10, right? Okay, that's very, very fine. Yeah, but if we add -1 plus 10, what do you get? You get +9, right? So we don't need that. And then if you add -2 plus 5, yes, what do you get? You get +3. But we are looking for -3, right? So then, what do you think will be our next step? Okay, so how about we add the negatives to the second numbers over here? Yes, so we don't need the negatives in our first numbers. So let's add them to our second numbers over here. Yes, 1, yes, multiplied by -10, it's giving us -10 over there. 2 multiplied by -5, -10, right? 1 plus -10, what does that give us? It gives us what? It gives us -9, right? -9 over here. And 2 plus -5, what does that give us? It gives us -3, right? So this pair right here is what we are looking for, yeah? And all what we have to do is to just simply insert them in our brackets. And there you go, you have solved the last quadratic expression, okay? Okay, so thank you so much guys for watching this lesson. I hope you've learned something, and I hope now you're able to factorize quadratic expressions into double brackets of this form with a leading coefficient of 1. Thank you.